From the Fox 11 Fieldhouse in the shadow of Lambeau Field, it's a very Fox 11 winter weather special with meteorologist Patrick Powell, meteorologist Pete Petoniak, meteorologist Phil DeCastro, and meteorologist Audrey Leigh.
Welcome to the Fox 11 Fieldhouse for a very Fox 11 winter weather special, edition 2024. I am Pete Petoniak with my meteorologist friends, Phil DeCastro, Patrick Powell, and the latest meteorologist on the Fox 11 staff, Audrey Leigh. We're here to talk a little bit about winter in northeast Wisconsin, and we've been working on it for a while. As a matter of fact, Phil, you went up north, at least to Washington's Island and Death's Door.
Yeah, I've never been up to Washington Island before. I've never taken the ferry, and what's fascinating to me is that ferry has to run year-round. It's got to run even through the dead of winter, crossing one of the most infamous channels really on the Great Lakes. So I talked to the ferry line to see what it takes to keep them running all winter long. And I spoke to some residents who live there year-round. There's about 700 people who call Washington Island home. So I talked to them about what it's like to be there in the middle of winter. And you're looking at more of a long-term view of our winter.
Yeah, you know, for the 18th consecutive year, I'm doing the winter weather forecast for northeast Wisconsin. So we're going to take a look this year at the records from last year and how warm and how unusual last winter was. Also going to take a look as we move forward what I'm expecting for this winter and how accurate this winter weather forecast process that I go through has been. And hopefully there's some use to it as people move through the winter. Now, Pete, you're covering snow squalls and the changes in the warning system from the National Weather Service.
Yeah, it's only been 2 years since the National Weather Service in Greenbay started issuing snow squall warnings. So I'll talk a little bit about why they do that and what a snow squall is and why we should pay attention to it. Also, it's a tradition here at Fox 11 to name the winter storms. So again, I'll give you the first 10 names of the winter storms, if we get to 10, for 2024-25. And Audrey, I know snow squall warnings are something new, but you have a brand new warning system out of the National Weather Service, right?
Yeah, I talked to the National Weather Service, and what we used to do with wind chill advisories, wind chill warnings, no more. They're all going to cold weather advisory or extreme cold warnings now, starting this year.
All right, we'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And you'll hear more about all of this coming up right here on a very Fox 11 winter weather special.
Now, Phil, you had gone up to Washington Island and crossed Death's Door. Tell us about that.
Really impressive operation that they have there. And when I heard that they operate all year round, I couldn't believe it. And it's honestly a testament to their dedication and their work ethic that they're able to keep it going even through the winter, crossing that tricky body of water.
For more than 100 years, the Washington Island Ferry has served as the link between Washington Island and the mainland of Door County. It's a crucial connection, and not just for people, but for cargo and supplies too. And with 700 plus year-round residents, that means the ferry has to run year-round as well.
Most goods and materials and supplies are on a just-in-time, kind of basis. So we might have hours or days or weeks of something, whatever that might be, that's needed to sustain life in the, island economy. Sure. There's no small amount of pressure.
Hoyt Purinton runs the Washington Island Ferry Line. It's been in his family since 1940. The full fleet is 5 boats, but only 2 run through the winter, the Madonna and the Arnie J. Richter. The 2 largest and newest ferries in their fleet, both were also engineered and designed to break ice. It's a huge boon for their operations. They rarely need Coast Guard ice-breaking assistance as a result. And it's not just the ice in the water that's a hazard. Ice building up from freezing spray can really cause problems.
We haul the most precious cargo there is, so slippery decks, even though we use several products and try to stay ahead of it, there are, want to limit risk.
And there's a lot more than just lake ice that captains have to deal with.
Everything, fog, wind, snow, rain, all types of weather.
Captain Eric Foss has been with the ferry line since he was in high school in 1980. He started as a deckhand and has been a captain since 1987. He says there's very little the boats can't handle on open water, but in close to the shore is where the weather can really disrupt operations.
Docking is the most important thing. You got to pay a lot of attention because between the waves, the wind, and the current, they're going to dictate where the boat goes, so you got to be careful of that.
Once they're in open water, they use a combination of radar and GPS tracking to stay on course when visibility is low, and it can be very low.
It's like being in a kaleidoscope because a lot of times the boat has relative motion. The snow is flying another way and the current might be pushing the ice another way.
Even with the extreme wind and waves that the ferry can experience crossing Death's Door, they estimate they only miss about 10 trips every single year. It's less than 1% of their total crossings.
It's a testament to the will and dedication of the crew and captains and their responsibility to an island that depends on them.
Pretty cold up there in winter, Washington Island and Death's Door. Maybe wind chill warnings, but not this year, right, Audrey?
Yeah, they are going away, and we have new terms now, cold weather advisories and extreme cold warnings, and it's all because we want to make it clearer for the public, National Weather Service.
I think most of the residents in this area of the state prepare for winter pretty well.
As we enter the grips of winter here in Northeast Wisconsin, the way some weather advisories are categorized are changing. The National Weather Service is changing the names to make the alerts clearer to understand when it's truly dangerous to be outside. What was once called a wind chill advisory is now going to be called a cold weather advisory. This also goes for what was once a wind chill watch, now extreme cold watch, then wind chill warning now turns into extreme cold warning.
Several things went into reclassifying our cold weather headlines. The first one is we wanted to change the title of it to something that's more meaningful to the public, and that, extreme cold warning, it's in the title so people know what's coming for them.
In order for a cold weather advisory to be issued, we have to meet certain criteria. Those criteria differ depending on what part of the state you live in. Here in Northeast Wisconsin, the criteria is a bit lower than for lows in the Northwoods.
The reason is because we used to have the same criteria everywhere here in northern Wisconsin. And so what ended up happening is up in Rhinelander, they would have twice as many cold weather warning or cold weather advisories issued than us here in Green Bay.
Extreme cold warnings can now be issued if temperatures or wind chills fall about 30 below.
The criteria for what's now a cold weather advisory is the exact same as it was for a wind chill advisory.
Extreme cold warnings and cold weather advisories are their own category. This separates them from winter weather alerts such as snow and ice warnings. By having cold weather alerts under its own category, the goal is to reduce confusion.
It doesn't mean that much unless it's very, very bad. Then I'm just going to stay home. I'm not going to even bother, fighting the 20 below, 30 below type weather. That's just not a good idea to be outside in that weather.
Two different types of headlines. One is for heavy snow. One is for extreme cold. And so now two different headlines, two different courses of action, and that should also help the public know what they need to do to stay safe, whether it's invest in a new shovel or if it's invest in, need to wear heavier clothes to work tomorrow.
If you see an extreme cold warning issued this winter, please take it seriously. It means that outdoor weather conditions are cold enough that frostbite can occur in just minutes.
When we come back, Pete Petoniak will have the winter storm names for the 2024-25 winter season right here on a Ferry Fox 11 Winter Weather Special.
Welcome back to the Fox 11 Fieldhouse in a very Fox 11 Winter Weather Special.
Welcome back to Fox 11's Fieldhouse. I know I'm new here, Pete, but I heard we name winter storms.
We do, and we've been doing it for a long time.
Wow.
More than 35 years, and we do it again this year. So without further ado, here are the winter storm names for 2024-25. Naming major winter storms is a tradition at Fox 11.
Our weather story of the day.
Former WLUK chief meteorologist John Chandick started naming storms in the winter of 1987-88. For the first decade, the storms were named after area towns. Then it transitioned to popular proper names. We don't name every storm, but when we name storms, we know they'll make major impacts in the area. With snowy roads, dangerous travel, and possible power outages. And this is our criteria for naming winter storms. The number one reason is because the Fox 11 meteorologists think it'll dump at least 5 inches of snow in more than half of our viewing area. But we can name a storm for other factors too, including strong winds, resulting in blowing snow, whiteout conditions. Also, the timing of the storm matters. If it happens around a Packers game, we may name it. And ice accumulations. That could result in downed trees, slippery roads, and power outages. The impact from these things could lead us to naming a winter storm. The idea is that if you hear us naming a winter storm, it will have an impact on your daily life and will help you plan and get prepared for it. Last year, we named 3 storms. Avery brought 4 to 6 inches of snow in early January. The biggest winter storm was Bennett on January 12th and 13th. It brought 8 to 18 inches of snow to the area and wind gusts of 35 to 55 miles an hour, which made it Blizzard Bennett. It caused more than 100,000 power outages and very dangerous travel. And now it's time for the Fox 11 winter storm names for 2024-2025. A is for Asher, Brenda, Cooper, Daisy, and Ezra. If we go to 6 through 10, here are the second 5 names: Franny, Griffin, Harmony, Indiana, and Josephine. Is your name on the list? Well, now we have the names, but how many will we use? Chief Meteorologist Patrick Powell is here to tell us the answer to that question.
Hopefully I have the answer. And one of the things we look at this year is doing the winter weather forecast worth it? Is it accurate? So we take a look at the accuracy. I'm also taking a look at how warm last winter was, the records from last winter, and then we get into the winter weather forecast itself for this upcoming year. Every winter in Wisconsin, we have snow, we have cold temperatures, we have strong winds, we have blowing snow. It's what we are compared to average. That's why we forecast this winter weather forecast. Now, my question every year is it worth it? Is this accurate? Well, over the last 18 years, I've had 8 forecasts right inside the range and 6 that were very close. And then there were just 4 that were plain bad forecasts. The reason is that we're forecasting based on the conditions that are happening now. And some winters, there are indices, there are patterns in the northern hemisphere that change. Last year, I was forecasting 40 to 50 inches. We ended up with 47.1. So last year, right on the nose. But some of these bad forecasts show that when I'm forecasting a range and the pattern flips, we end up warm, we end up too cold and more snowy, and it does really change things. But that's only happened 4 of the last 18 years. On the close winter forecast, I'm forecasting above average snow. We just beat it by a little bit in a number of these cases. Other cases, we ended up with 50 inches and I was forecasting 38 to 48, or I'm forecasting 55 to 65. We ended up just short, and that could be for a number of different reasons. You pick up a little more cold air, it snows a little earlier, the snow is just fluffier in some spots, and again, just missed it. It had the idea that it was going in the right direction, just missed it by a little bit. Correct winter forecasts were 8 years out of the 18, including last year at 47.1 and 21-22 where we were 43.8. So you see, there is some value in this. So overall last year, I was forecasting a warm winter with record warm months and below average snowfall after New Year's Day. We all remember how February went. So it was the record warmest December on record, nearly 35 degrees for the month of December, over 10 degrees above average, shattering the old record. For the month of February, also warmest February on record, shattering the temperature by nearly 2 degrees, beat the old record by 2 degrees, above average by 12 degrees in the month of February, leading to the warmest winter on record at nearly 3 degrees above the old record for the warmest winter. So that's the warmest winter since 1886, and we beat the average by nearly 8.5 degrees. Coming up right after this break, the winter weather forecast for 24-25.
Welcome back to the Fox 11 Fieldhouse in a very Fox 11 winter weather special.
Don't expect another record warm winter this winter. Things are different. Mainly, the tropical Pacific. Last year we had a moderate El Nino to a strong El Nino. This year it's a weak La Nina, so the temperatures in the tropical Pacific significantly cooler. Very strong negative Pacific decadal oscillation indicating warm air over a good chunk of North America, and the Atlantic continues warm. So it's not going to be brutally cold, but it is going to be different than last year. Warm for the eastern sections of the United States from the Mississippi Valley east. I think it's going to be below average west of the Continental Divide. Precipitation-wise, I think the wet areas will be Northern California through the Pacific Northwest, and then the mid-Mississippi River Valley through the Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic. Temperature-wise, I am expecting a pretty typical winter. Most months are going to be very close to average, little above average in December and in February. So overall, temperature-wise, the average winter temperature is 22.2. I'm expecting to be near or just above that, from 22 to 24 degrees. So near normal, maybe hedging a little to the warm side. Snowfall-wise, similar. I think we're going to be a very close to average winter snowfall-wise. Near average snow December, January, and February, a little bit below average in the month of March. Snowfall-wise, on average, we see 55.6 inches of snow. I'm forecasting 50 to 60 inches this winter. So I think snow and temperatures will both be close to average throughout the entire winter. There's some new warnings from the National Weather Service that people have been asking questions about the last few years, and Pete, you're going to explain that.
Yeah, a relatively new one is a snow squall warning. So let's look at what a snow squall is and when the National Weather Service will issue that warning.
This winter, you may hear a relatively new winter storm alert, the snow squall warning. The National Weather Service in Green Bay issued their first snow squall warning in 2022.
A snow squall moves in quickly, suddenly. It's an intense but short duration event. Snow squalls bring periods of moderate to heavy snowfall along with gusty winds, and that results in low visibility or even whiteout conditions and worsening road conditions. And there has been a history of deadly traffic accidents caused by snow squalls.
It's not as if like 8 inches of snow are going to fall in 5 minutes. It's the visibility is like becomes whiteout conditions. Like that's the big driver of bad impacts. A lot of the times too, there could be like a flash freeze behind it. So the roads could be really slippery right behind it.
Because snow squalls are so sudden and happen in a localized area, the National Weather Service issues a snow squall warning in the winter, much like they do with a tornado warning in the summer. It's when a snow squall is occurring or will happen in the near future. It's for a specific area, usually lasts under 60 minutes, and it's to get you prepared for what could be dangerous driving conditions.
So when you hear Fox 11 say that the National Weather Service has issued a snow squall warning, you may want to change your plans for just a while until the danger passes and the snow squall has moved on.
So Phil, you made it across death's door and now you're on Washington Island.
Yep.
What's it like living there in winter?
In the winter, I can tell you it is very different from the crowds and the tourism that they have in the summer. And I sat down and spoke with some people who've been living there and their families have been there for generations to see what it's like.
While winter had yet to settle in on Washington Island late this October, it was clear the summer crowds were long gone. For the 700-plus year-round residents of the remote island at the tip of Door County, they know the long winter season is just on the horizon, but that doesn't mean they're dreading it.
There's this just peacefulness that the island residents who are here all year get to finally have a little breath, you know.
Steve Rice is a fifth-generation Washington Islander. He and his family manage Sunset Resort on the island's western shore, and he also serves as the island's archivist. Rice says the winter can be lonely, but the Islanders take pride in having each other's backs.
People are always watching out for, you know, why is those tracks down that driveway, you know, that sort of thing. Medically, they'll look out for people going to, I haven't seen so-and-so for a couple days. I should, you know, just drive in and see what's going on. And
it's great. I love this community. I mean,
Sarah Gibson is a fourth-generation Islander.
I mean, to be part of such a close-knit community where everyone has your back. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, they always have your back.
And owns Jackson Harbor Soup with her family. After the constant crowds of summer, she appreciates the quiet winters.
A lot of things get pushed to the back burner. And then once the winter months come, now you can start looking back there and deciding, oh, I guess I can get at that project, or I can, go do work in the shed or this and that.
And unlike on mainland Door County, there really isn't any winter tourism on the island. It's just never been that kind of a destination. There is an ice fishing derby and a snowmobile festival, but it's mostly locals and former residents.
Oh, it's great up here.
Like Andrew Phelps, who grew up on Washington Island, but now lives in Sturgeon Bay. He loves coming back, but just to visit.
The winters, yes, isolation. It's just a lot of ice fishing, hanging out with the boys.
Sure.
Make your own fun,
Ultimately, living on Washington Island year-round is not for everyone. There are only a few restaurants, and their hours get very irregular, if they're open at all. Need something from the store? Have to make sure it's open, and good luck on weekends. And if it's not in stock, you'll need a trip on the ferry back to the mainland. But for all those who do call Washington Island home, they live there because they love all of it all year round.
You hunker in, you sit by the fire, you play games, you read books.
Sure.
You maybe go out to eat once every couple weeks, but who knows if the restaurants are open or not. You never know. Yeah. But I love the winter. That's one of my favorite months. Really? Yeah, it's one of my favorite seasons. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this summer, I love being busy, but I would say fall and winter are by far my favorite seasons.
Welcome back to the Fox 11 Fieldhouse. Now we want to test your knowledge about winter weather in Northeast Wisconsin. Audrey, you have the first question.
All right, question. What will wind chill warnings be replaced with? Your options are A, really cold warning, B, extreme cold warnings, or C, dangerous wind chill warning. And the answer is B, extreme cold warnings.
Question 2. In 2018, we experienced Blizzard Evelyn. How much snow did we get from that mega snowmaker? Was it A, 10 inches, B, 15 inches, or C, 24 inches? The answer is C, 24 inches of snow.
Question 3. What is the lowest temperature ever recorded in Green Bay? Is it A, minus 25, B, minus 30, or C, minus 36? The answer is C, minus 36 in 1888.
And now the last question. How much snow fell in Green Bay in the snowiest winter ever recorded? Was it 92 inches, B, 147 inches, or C, 103 inches? The answer is B, 147 inches. It fell in the winter of 1887-88. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Very Fox 11 Winter Weather Special.
Stay tuned to Fox 11 throughout the winter, on air and online.
And don't forget to download our Fox 11 weather app. Stay up to date on the latest winter weather alerts.
And whenever a winter storm does move into Northeast Wisconsin, we'll be right out in the thick of it in the Fox 11 Storm Chaser. And you can catch up with us on all of our social media channels.
Now, you may have noticed while we were recording this, it wasn't snowing. But through a little bit of meteorological magic, 3, 2, 1. Oh. Thanks for joining us. Should we sing along? I don't know.